All right, guys. Our next guest is still coming off a one-sided destruction over Lyoto Machida back at UFC on Fox 15. He's now set to take on Chris Weidman at the very, very stacked UFC 194 in the co-main event for the middleweight title of the world. He's none other than Luke Rockhold. Luke, welcome back to Submission Radio. How's it going?
Going great, guys. Thanks for having me back.
No, it's a pleasure. And the last time we spoke with you, Luke, you had just defeated Lyoto Machida in a very impressive victory. Since then, we've seen you take on a much tougher opponent, the iPhone 6. If you Google Luke Rockhold iPhone, there's a video of you roundhousing and destroying iPhones. What exactly was that all about?
It was a cool opportunity I had with a cell phone insurance company called Square Trade. Just showing that that I can pretty much break anything in my path, including Chris Weidman. So.
Oh, there he goes.
Do you think Chris Weidman is
your iPhones are breakable, so make sure you get the right web protection plan.
Do you think Chris Weidman's an iPhone or an Android?
I'd say he's definitely Android. He's not as diverse, not as he's technical.
Oh, see, we're Android guys. So you're offending a lot of people here, Luke. Are you an iPhone guy or are you an Android guy?
I'm an iPhone guy.
Oh, there you go. Did it hurt you inside, hurting those iPhones and roundhouse kicking them against the walls and smashing them?
Man, I wanted to switch out a brand new iPhone S Plus. I broke too many of them. It was like one of those sins that that you don't get that opportunity that often to break phones and feel good about it. It was like the forbidden deal, and it was pretty awesome to break them.
Yeah, I feel like you could do a slow motion montage of that and put like the Platoon music in the background, and like mothers would like shield their children's eyes when they watch something like that. But we also saw another video on bjpen.com where you showed off a dark storage room at AKA with some dusty mattresses, let's just say, and you claim you take naps in there between training sessions. Is that true, Luke?
I did for that camp. Yeah. Fortunately, I stepped my game up this time, but I live in Santa Cruz, California, which is a little ways away, and sacrifice makes greatness. So I sacrificed my days and my time and invested myself into San Jose and slaving away a whole day here before I go home. So that was a sacrifice. Now it's a little more plush. I got my sponsors got me a house near the gym, and so I got my pool and a hot tub to get by during the days for this camp. It'll be a little nicer, a little more comfortable.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we imagine that would be a pretty big struggle sleeping on those dusty mattresses. Hopefully there was no asbestos or weird chemicals in there. Now, speaking of training, something unfortunate happened the other day. We wanted to get your thoughts on it. Joseph Duffy was pulled from the main event of UFC Dublin when he suffered a flash knockout in training and had a mild concussion. We believe it was on his final sparring day. Now, considering that in the past, AKA has been criticized for sparring too hard, what do you make of this? Is this something that can happen to anyone in the gym, or is it something else when it happens so close to a fight?
I mean, I'm not going to harp on anybody's routine. It seems like the kid's been doing well for himself. I'm not one to criticize another one's training regime. It happens. I mean, it can happen here. It can happen anywhere. It's not much to be said in this game. It's unfortunate. I don't know how close to the fight he was sparring. I mean, the fight was when was his last sparring day? Is it Friday or what?
Well, that's the big question. We're not exactly sure when he was sparring, because it was in Montreal in TriStar. The fight's obviously in Ireland, so you got to think the sparring was a few days ago. I'm not too sure. I mean, because obviously you don't train at TriStar, you train at AK, we can only really ask you about your stuff. When you guys spar at AK, do you guys go lighter in the week previous to a fight, or do you maintain the intensity throughout? And when do you guys stop hard sparring?
I keep my intensity up pretty high. I'll probably stop the Wednesday before the weekend in advance before the fight. So I'll be like a week and a half before the fight. I finish my hard sparring. Mm-hmm. I do a light sparring about a week out. That next Friday, so we spar Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I'll mix it up. I usually have my last hard spar day. Depending on how I feel, I might even finish up on the Monday before and just do drill sparring from then on. But it's you just gotta listen to your body and your heart and how you feel. It's each their own.
Now, Luke, you've got some new challenges ahead of this fight in December, namely the new rules implemented by USADA. You've always advocated for strong drug testing and keeping the sport clean. What do you think about the latest efforts by the UFC and USADA? Do you think they'll work in ridding the sport of PEDs?
I think it's a big step in the right direction, and I'd be judging from how they approached me the other day. About 2 days ago, they showed up on my doorstep. Or actually, was it yesterday? Yes, I believe it was. Showed up at 6:45 a.m.
Wow.
I had no idea they would show up. So they called me over and over again, and I was sitting there, kept turning off my phone, like, who the fuck is calling me right now? 6 times in a row at 6:45. And I finally picked up the phone. I'm like, what? Yelled at the phone and said, hey, this is so-and-so from USADA. We're at your doorstep right now. We're trying to get in. I'm like, oh, my God. I'm like, these people are for real. So they came up, blood test, piss test. I feel comfortable with that. I like the fact that it happened. They invade your privacy a little bit, but, for the better of the sport, I'm open to it.
How long did the whole process go? 6:45 there at your house. How long did it take? Was this like an hour-long thing? And how many people were there? Just one guy, one agent?
There's actually 3 agents. So they run through the process depending on, how long it takes you to take a piss. They have a 20-minute waiting period where you need to be sitting down before they start taking your blood test. Fortunately for me, I just woke up at about 5 o'clock. Sleepwalk to the pitcher and got the big piss, so I couldn't pitch for quite a while, so I was stuck with them for about an hour.
Wow.
At my place. But all right, they're okay people, just doing their job.
Yeah, that's right. It's an interesting job to have anyway, waiting around, watching people piss. It's an interesting career path. Now, let's talk about the other big change this time around. It will be the IV ban. We know that Chris Weidman cuts a lot of weight to make it to 185. You not quite so much. How different will your cut be for this fight in comparison to previous fights? And have you been relying thus far on IVs to replenish fluids?
Yeah, I did the majority of my career without IVs. I've only been using IVs as of recent. But I've got my weight cut down pretty much to a scientific method. I mean, I've even took the next step further in hiring someone on to replenish me and to get my diet and everything right, so the weight will come off right, and more so just the rehydration and getting back to optimal hydration in the right way. Sometimes you overdo it. It's hard to contain yourself, rehydrate the right way, at the right pace. You overdo it a lot of times. So I'm stoked to have this guy on board with me and monitoring my reload and hydration. So, and obviously my weight cut. So it's just trying to be more of a professional. But I've never had that much of an issue. Weidman seems to struggle, and you can see it. Weight cuts affect you later in the fight too. Weidman has a hard time making it 5 rounds, and probably due to his lack of experience in a proper weight cut. So hopefully, I want the best Weidman. I don't want any excuses about weight cut or nothing. So I want this guy. Hopefully, he takes the right steps to doing the right thing, so we get the best fight possible for him.
Yeah, so I mean, there's that story that's gone around where he almost pretty much killed himself late notice trying to cut weight, make it down to a fight, especially when there was no hot water up in the bath in the hotel room that he was in. Are you worried at all that he might have issues making weight and that might affect the bout that you guys have?
I'd like to think not. I think he's enough of a professional, especially at this point in his career, that he's comfortable making weight, and I feel confident.
Now, Luke, you're obviously not taking Chris lightly. Stylistically speaking, where would you say Chris is most dangerous, and what will you have to watch out for during the fight?
I'm not so much worried about Chris. I'm just focusing on myself and my attributes, my intangibles that he doesn't have. So it's my speed, my athleticism, and my overall game. I believe I have more cardio. I got more heart, more will, more technical. In every aspect of the game, I think I respect his wrestling. I think he thinks it's going to play too much of a role. It's really going to be, I'm going to shut down his wrestling. I'm going to open up every other hole in his game. I think he's slow, and he's gotten by toughness and his wrestling. And I'm gonna be faster. I'm gonna hit him harder, and I'm gonna challenge him in ways he hasn't. You know, I'm gonna put a pace that he's never felt before, and I'm not running from the man. Trust me, I'm gonna be hunting this guy down like I hunt every other fighter down. You know, I hunt him and I bait him in. I hunt him and I bait him in. There's gonna be no different come 12-12.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you've stated that you see yourself finishing him with a left hand or a left kick. Why in particular those two techniques? And what do you see there that you believe you can take advantage of with those techniques?
I don't give away my whole game plan, but you know, I'm confident in my striking ability, and it's come a long way. And I just think he exposes himself in many ways, and I can open up. You know, I'm not saying I can't knock him out with a right hand or a right kick, but you know, when I see something, it usually comes to fruition. And so, you know, I've seen it coming, and I see one of the two landing, and me walking away with the W.
Interesting note is that you did predict, I believe it was left side when you fought Michael Bisping, and it was the left head kick that put him down that led to the submission. You told us last time you were on the show that you were a little bit nervous to strike against Machida in the early goings of the fights, just because it is Machida, you know, because of his history and him being a notoriously tricky striker. Do you think you'll feel the same way in regards to striking with Weidman, or is he kind of a different case?
I don't like striking quickly off the bat with anybody. I like finding my timing and understanding my distance, and then engaging. I didn't expect for a firefight so quickly with Machida. I think it was due to maybe his nervousness, but he was forced to engage quickly and try to catch me off guard. With Weidman, I expect him to come forward and push the pace in a similar way. I'm gonna find my timing and defend his wrestling and his pressure, and then I'm gonna put my own pressure on him. So, Weidman likes to start quick. I think it's it could be might not be the smartest thing for him to come in too quickly in this fight. I can cut an angle and I can counter him, and I'm not scared of Weidman. He's fighting all these guys that are scared of his wrestling and letting him dictate the pace of the fight. I dictate the pace of my fights. No one else. And like I said, same thing come 12-12.
And you've mentioned a couple of times in this interview alone that, hopefully he doesn't think that his wrestling will be too much of an advantage for him in this fight. Obviously, you train with DC, Daniel Cormier, and Cain Velasquez on a regular basis. I mean, do you think he'll show anything that you haven't seen before in the wrestling room?
No, he's not gonna bring anything that I'm not used to on a much higher level in the wrestling. I know he's good on the feet. I know he's good on the ground, but same thing as with Machida on the ground. I have a different level of speed and athleticism and funk, and he's not going to be able to keep up with me if he wants to take it to the ground. He's not going to keep up, and it's the same thing on the feet. I just got those intangibles that he can't keep up with, whether we're on the ground or on the feet, and that's why I plan on exposing every weakness he has.
You were on the MMA Hour a couple of months ago, and you compared your resume to Chris's, and you especially made comparisons to, say, the way you beat Lyoto Machida compared to the way how he took him to the distance, and how you fought a much tougher Vitor Belfort when Vitor Belfort was on TRT, and then there were the two Anderson fights, each having their own controversy. But, people are looking at Chris Weidman as the guy who's going to carry the torch at middleweight for a while. What do you think of that? Do you think the hype is warranted?
I think he's a very tough guy. I think he's got the division at the right time, but it's a new age, and there's a new crop of guys coming up that are on a different level than anyone he's ever faced, and I'm leading the way. He's in trouble in a lot of ways. I think our Machida fights tell a very different story. When we fought the same guy, the Vitor fight isn't even the same. We shouldn't even talk about it. It's not even the same realm. I think we all know what the difference is there. Anderson's Anderson, so who knows how those fights went, but I'm more focused on his current history. That's about it.
Well, Joe Rogan has said that your fight with Chris may be the greatest middleweight title fight of all time, because both of you and Chris are in your primes. You both look unstoppable. Now, you would have heard that time and time again and again over and over leading into this fight. Do you feel any pressure when people say that this is possibly the greatest middleweight matchup, middleweight title fight in UFC history?
I don't feel nothing. I feel myself going in there and doing my job. That's what I feel. People want to say this is a close fight. I don't see it as though. I think Chris is going to be tough for a round, maybe two. I'm going to run away with this fight, and I'm gonna take the belt home. Another belt coming back to AKA.
There you go.
Chris is just too slow. He's too slow. He's too slow. That's all I got to say. He's slow, and he's slow.
Got that. We'll definitely note that. Slow and tick a box next to it. Now, in a lot of way, having Conor McGregor in the main event, I imagine that will take some of the pressure off. I'm just curious, what do you make of Conor McGregor and his trash-talking ways? I mean, he's obviously helping to sell what will inevitably be a very, very big pay-per-view. Do you like having him as a main event over you and Chris? And, do you give him any chance against Aldo in this fight?
I don't care. I'm more focused on my fight. It's a good card to be a part of, and I'm happy to go out there and stage my, showcase my skills on that stage. So it's everything together. We'll see what the numbers show. I don't know. I don't know until we get there. The kid's done well for himself. He's found a niche that somebody likes him out there.
Yeah, certainly. And I believe Chris Weidman predicted possibly 1.4 million pay-per-view buy. So we'll see what happens. Now, I know you want to focus primarily on this fight, Luke, but if you do beat Weidman, there's a possibility that Anderson Silva will make it back up the ranks and fight you for the title if you're champion. After seeing that everything that happened in his Nevada hearings and the way he handled being caught on steroids, would that be a fight that you'd like to have in the future, possibly?
Of course. Why wouldn't I? Anderson Silva is Anderson Silva, and that's a big money fight. So I welcome those big names to come back and to work their way back up the ranks. I'd love nothing more than fight with Anderson and Vitor and so on. I don't think they're as credible as the rest of the guys, but I like money, and I like making numbers.
Sure. Do you feel like this hypothetical Anderson Silva fight, and really that'd be a long way down the road and a big hypothetical, but do you feel like it's almost the fight that, I don't know, you kind of got to close the chapter on that one because you were the last Strikeforce champion. There was talks about possibly having you face Anderson Silva. It just seemed to get derailed and never happened. Do you feel like you sort of, want that fight to sort of close that chapter?
It's a fight I wanted for a long time back in the day, and I wasn't able to get it. It's definitely something that's interests me, and I'd love to have an opportunity to get in there with the legend like Anderson Silva.
Awesome. Well, now, Luke, before we let you go, we have to get this from you. I mean, you must love answering this question time and time again. You must have answered it a million times now, but what's the official prediction? How are you beating Chris Weidman on December 12th at UFC 194?
I'm going to shut Chris Weidman down in the first round. I'm going to expose him in the second round, and I'm going to finish him with a left kick, followed by a left punch.
Wow, that's actually one of the
simultaneously.
That's actually one of the more better poetic predictions we've had on the show. Now, lastly, before we let you go, Luke, you spent some time in our country of Australia last year in November. The weather was great. You finished Michael Bisping. We're having another party next month. It's called UFC 193, and it's in Melbourne this time. Any chance we'll see you back in Australia, possibly for some media work, maybe the Q&A?
I'd love to. I love Australia, and I'd like nothing more than to get back there and visit you boys. So, obviously, I'm not going to make it for 93. I'll be focused and training for my fight. But anything in the near future, I'd love to go down there and hang out.
Well, there you guys go. We might see Luke Rockhold down under sooner than later. Luke, best of luck in your fight with Chris Weidman at UFC 94. And guys, you can follow Luke on Twitter at Luke Rockhold. Always a great account to follow, especially considering he may be the next middleweight champion of the world. Luke, best of luck and thank you for coming onto Submission Radio.
Thank you, guys. Always a pleasure.